Hello friends. As you all know that Venezuela is engulfed in turmoil as protests erupt across the nation. At least 11 people have died, demanding President Nicolas Maduro acknowledge his defeat in Sunday's highly controversial election. But what's behind this unrest? Who are the key players, and what could this mean for Venezuela's future? Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind these dramatic events. It wasn't that long ago that Venezuela, which was the richest country in South America, possesses the world's largest crude oil reserves, was a relatively stable democracy with one of Latin America's fastest rising economies. It was a nation so awash in petroleum revenues that the socialist government of the late former President Hugo Chavez spent huge amounts on social programs, and at one point, even provided free heating oil for impoverished Americans. But starting in 2014, the South American nation began suffering a startling collapse, with Venezuela's gross domestic product plummeting even more than the United States during the Great Depression. Many of its nearly 32 million inhabitants became unable to afford food, and resource-starved hospitals did not have enough soap and antibiotics. Today, the people of Venezuela struggle daily for basic necessities like food and medicine. Meanwhile, Venezuela's political system spiraled into turmoil. President Nicolas Maduro, whose 2018 re-election was tainted by accusations of irregularities and voter intimidation, faced massive street protests and survived a spring 2019 military uprising instigated by opposition politician Juan Guaidó, the leader of the elected National Assembly whose legislative powers were taken away by Maduro's regime in 2017. The current wave of protests began after Sunday's controversial election. On Sunday, a crucial election took place, but the results have been hotly contested. President Nicolas Maduro claims he won, securing a third term, but the opposition and independent observers call the results implausible. What does this mean for Venezuela? And what are the protesters demanding? In elections, vote tallies are the detailed counts of votes. Releasing these tallies ensures transparency and confirms the legitimacy of the results. Protesters and international leaders alike are demanding these figures be made public. On July 30th, international pressure mounted. U.S. President Joe Biden and Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva called on Venezuela to release the election tallies. Biden stated, the Venezuelan government must quickly publish the vote tallies of Sunday's contested election to end the crisis. Lula echoed this sentiment, emphasizing that access to the vote tallies is indispensable. This unified stance underscores the global demand for transparency in Venezuela. The heart of this protest is in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, where the protesters flood the streets, waving flags and demanding truth. The opposition claims a landslide victory, asserting they secured nearly 70% of the votes. The Biden administration has condemned Maduro's alleged electoral manipulation, saying it strips his victory of any credibility. Washington has even hinted at the possibility of new sanctions. What do you think? Should the international community impose more sanctions on Venezuela? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The international response has been swift. Lula, informed by his foreign minister, insists that Venezuela must release vote tallies to resolve the dispute. Even Brazil's government, which praised the election day as peaceful, is awaiting the official tallies to legitimize the results. This global scrutiny highlights the high stakes of Venezuela's electoral crisis. But how did Venezuela sink so far, so fast? Experts like Jo Marie Burt from George Mason University point to a combination of factors. Venezuela has long been dependent on oil revenues, and the Bolivarian revolution of Hugo Chavez did not fundamentally alter that situation. The fall in oil prices devastated the economy. But furthermore, Venezuela's crisis has been deepened by U.S. sanctions against the Venezuelan oil industry. In March, it also sanctioned the Venezuelan gold mining industry, and in April, it also imposed sanctions against the Central Bank of Venezuela, cutting off that institution's access to U.S. currency and limiting its ability to conduct international transactions, to put even more pressure upon Maduro's regime. The human cost of this crisis is immense. With a collapsing GDP, millions of Venezuelans face hunger and lack access to essential healthcare. Hospitals are running out of basic supplies, and the struggle for survival is daily. So, what can be done to solve this crisis? Transparency is key. Releasing the election results is the first step toward restoring trust. The international community must continue to pressure for democratic processes and provide humanitarian aid to those in need. What do you think is the best way forward for Venezuela? Can transparency and international pressure bring about real change? Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please subscribe to our channel for more insights and stories from around the world. Your voice matters. Join the conversation and share your thoughts in the comments below.